You're born in the year of the dragon, Sengoku-era Japan, an age that worships warriors, but feeds on their blood. This isn't a story about honor. It's about the price of believing in it. You don't choose to be samurai. You're born into it. Your father kneels before a daimyo, a warlord who controls your village, your land, your life. Loyalty isn't something you earn. It's something you owe. From the day you take your first breath, your path isn't a choice. It's a sentence. At 5 years old, they place a sword in your hands. It's wooden, small, almost looks like a toy. But everyone treats it like scripture. Your father watches you hold it. He doesn't smile. He says, "This blade is your soul." You believe him. You have to believe him. Because if the sword is a lie, then what are you? Every morning before the sun, you wake to the sound of steel. You train until your hands bleed. You're told this is discipline, but it feels like drowning. The other boys your age, sons of farmers, merchants, monks, they play in the river. You watch them from the dojo. You're not jealous. You're proud. Because you've been chosen. Chosen to serve. Chosen to die. Your father returns from battle one night. His armor is cracked. His face is hollow. He doesn't speak of glory. He doesn't speak at all. You ask him, "Did you fight with honor?" He looks at you, and for just a second of flicker you see it. Fear, not of the enemy, of the lie. The sword you carry isn't a promise. It's a leash, and the world is full of men holding the other end. You learn to kneel before you learn to walk. Not a metaphor, literal. Your legs aren't strong enough to stand, but they teach you the posture of submission first. Head bowed, hands flat, spine straight. This is respect, they say. But respect and surrender, they look the same from above. Your childhood isn't laughter, it's silence, bruises, calluses on hands too small to hold a real sword. The dojo becomes your world. Wooden floors soaked in sweat and blood. Walls that echo with the crack of bamboo on bone. Your master stands in the corner, arms crossed, face like stone. He doesn't smile. He doesn't comfort. He watches. And when you fall, he waits to see if you'll get back up. If you don't, you're not his student. You're nothing. The bamboo sword comes down across your ribs. You gasp. Your master's voice cuts through the sting. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. You nod. You don't understand it yet, but you will, because the bruises fade. The lesson doesn't. You stop flinching. You stop crying. You stop feeling, and they call that growth. Outside the dojo, other children play by the river. They chase each other. They laugh so loud it echoes through the valley. You hear it during training. Your master sees you glance toward the sound. He strikes you across the shoulder, not hard, but sharp. Emotion is weakness. You bury the longing. You bury the jealousy. You bury the child. And what's left? A shape. A shadow in the form of a boy, learning to become a blade. Your real father barely speaks to you anymore. He's always at the Lord's estate, always preparing, always serving. Your master becomes your second father, cold, distant, unflinching. He teaches you balance, breathwork, killing strikes. He teaches you how to stand in a room and make men nervous. But he never teaches you how to be a person, because that's not what you're being shaped into. You stop being a child before you stop being small. And by the time you're 10, you've already forgotten what it felt like to be you. You're 16 when they finally give you a real blade. Not bamboo, not wood, steel. You lift it, it's heavier than you imagined. Not because of the metal, because it carries weight. Your father's name is etched near the hilt. He carried this blade for 20 years. Now it's yours. He doesn't hand it to you with ceremony. He just sets it down, walks away, like he's passing you a curse he's finally free of. You march to war, hundreds of men, armor clinking. banners snapping in the wind. The daimyo rides ahead on a black horse, pristine and untouchable. You're in the mud with the rest of the Ashigaru, the foot soldiers, the expendables. Your master told you about war. He spoke of discipline, strategy, single combat, samurai facing samurai, blade to blade, honor to honor. You believed him. You shouldn't have. The battle begins, and the fantasy dies in seconds. There are no dreams, no moments of stillness before the strike. Just chaos, screaming, mud, bodies piling on bodies. A horse tramples a man next to you, his skull cracks like pottery. You don't even know which side he was on. An arrow punches through someone's throat. He gurgles, falls. You step over him because if you stop, you die. You swing your sword, not with precision, not with form. You swing because your brain is screaming, move or die. You feel it connect. Resistance. Then, nothing. A man falls. You don't know his name. You don't know if he had a son. You just know he's gone. And you're still here. When the dust clears, you're still standing. Your sword is red. Your hands are shaking. You try to breathe, but your chest is tight. You stumble to the edge of the battlefield and vomit. Not from fear, from realization. This isn't honor. It's slaughter. Industrial. Efficient. Meaningless. The man you killed didn't challenge you. He was just there. And now he's not. A veteran walks past you, sees you bent over, shaking. He laughs. Not cruel. Just tired. First one, you nod. He claps you on the shoulder. You'll forget his face by tomorrow. You want to tell him he's wrong, but you don't, because part of you knows he's right. Other veterans gather around a fire. They're joking, passing a flask, reenacting kills like they're telling a story about fishing. You sit with them. You start laughing too. Not because it's funny, because if you don't laugh, you'll scream. That night, you clean your sword. The blood comes off easy, too easy. You stare at the blade. Your father's name still etched there. You wonder, did he feel this? Did he vomit after his first kill? Did he laugh with the veterans? Did he forget the faces? Or did he just stop asking? You slide the sword back into its sheath. It feels lighter now, not because you're stronger, because you're emptier. Years pass, but they don't feel like years. They feel like repetition. Another battle, another field, another Lord's banner snapping above your head. The faces change. The screams sound the same. You stop learning names. What's the point? They'll be dead by summer. Or you will. Daimyos fight daimyos. Alliances form. Then shatter. A lord you bled for last year, you're killing his men this season. Because your daimyo switched sides. Or was betrayed. Or saw a better opportunity. You don't ask why anymore. You just go. You no longer remember who you're killing. Just who's paying you. And even that feels like a technicality. You live by Bushido, the way of the warrior. 7 virtues: righteousness, courage, compassion, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty. You recite them before battle, like a prayer, like a spell that might make this mean something. But the words taste like ash, because you've seen righteous men butchered for politics. You've watched courageous warriors die screaming in the mud. Compassion? That died with your first kill. Loyalty? You're loyal to a lord who doesn't know your name. Who would replace you with a farmer's son if you fell tomorrow? The code is beautiful, but it's a lie, and you know it. But you cling to it anyway, because without it, what are you? You watch a comrade commit seppuku. Ritual suicide. His lord was defeated. Rather than serve another, he kneels in the dirt, opens his belly with his own blade. He doesn't scream, doesn't beg. He dies with his name intact. The others speak of his honor, his courage. But you envy him. Not because he was brave, because he chose. He decided when his story ended. You're still here, still swinging, still bleeding for men who forget you the moment you're gone. You whisper a prayer that night. Let me die like my father, sword in hand, name intact. It's the only thing you ask for anymore. Then it happens. Your lord, the man your father served, the man you served, is summoned to a council meeting. A peace talk. He goes unarmed, as tradition dictates. He never comes back. Murdered, stabbed in a room full of allies, by men who smiled at him that morning. Overnight, everything changes. Your banner burns. Your estate is seized. Your family name, the one your father died protecting, turns to ash. You're no longer samurai. You're Ronin, masterless, worthless, a sword without a sheath. And the world has no use for you. You wake up, but you don't know where. A roadside shrine, a burned-out farmhouse, under a tree somewhere between two provinces that don't want you. You have no lord, no land, no name that opens doors. The word is Ronin, wave man, floating man, a man unanchored, drifting, unwanted. You used to kneel before a daimyo and know exactly who you were. Now, you're no one. And the world makes sure you feel it. Your stipend gone. The rice that kept you fed, the coin that kept you clothed, seized. Your family estate, burned or claimed by the victor. You walk through a village wearing your armor. Farmers see you coming. They don't bow. They don't speak. They look through you like you're a ghost, a relic, a thing that should have died with its master but didn't. Children hide behind their mothers. Merchants close their stalls. You're samurai, and you're nothing. You find a tea house on the edge of a town. It's where Ronin gather. Men like you, masterless, desperate, dangerous. They sit in corners, faces hard, eyes hollow. Some still wear their clan colors faded, torn, meaningless now. Others have abandoned them entirely. They speak in low voices, selling their skills to anyone who'll pay. Merchants who need protection, lords who need bodies, criminals who need muscle. You sit with them. You tell yourself you're different. You're not. Hunger humbles every oath. Some Ronin become bandits. They raid the very villages they once protected. Some become actors performing plays, wearing masks, pretending to be the warriors they used to be. Some just disappear, found face down in a ditch, or swinging from a tree. Because a man without purpose is a man without a reason to breathe. You swore you wouldn't fall that far, but then you miss a meal, then two, then a week. And when a merchant offers you coin to guard his convoy, you don't ask what he's carrying. You just take the job. You start taking work, protecting caravans, raiding rival merchants, fighting for lords you once called enemies. You stand on a battlefield under a banner you don't recognize. Men. Fighting men who wore your colors a year ago. Killing them. Because that's the contract. And the contract is all you have. One night, you're hired to guard a sake house. A rival gang tries to burn it down. You kill 3 men in the street. You don't remember their faces. You collect your payment. You drink until you can't think. This is survival. This is what loyalty becomes when the Lord is gone. You catch your reflection in a puddle, armor dented, face gaunt, eyes empty. You look like your father. The night he came home from war, hollow, haunted, afraid. Not of dying, of realizing it was all for nothing. You were forged into a weapon, told you were noble, told you were necessary. But the world doesn't need you. It uses you, then throws you away. And the sword at your side, it's not your soul. It's just steel, rusting in the rain. Then the wars end, not with a final battle, not with glory or collapse, just silence. Tokugawa Ieyasu unites Japan. The clans bend the knee. The banners stop burning. The killing stops. Peace arrives. And it's your greatest enemy. Because a warrior without war is just a man with a sword he's not allowed to use. For the first time in your life, the land is quiet. No horns at dawn. No banners on the horizon. No lords calling for men. Farmers plant rice without fear of it being torched. Merchants travel roads without hiring guard. Children play in fields that used to run red. It's beautiful. It's killing you. You were forged in fire, shaped by violence. You don't know how to exist in softness. The sword at your hip, the one your father carried, the one you've cleaned 1,000 times, it feels wrong now. Not like a weapon, like an artifact, a museum piece, a relic of an age the world is trying to forget. The farmers thrive. They buy land, build homes. Their children are fat and loud and happy. The merchants rise. They wear fine silks. They broker deals in tea houses where samurai used to plan battles. And you fade. You take jobs when you can find them. Guarding a caravan. Scaring off a drunk. Standing outside a magistrate's office looking intimidating. They pay you in copper coins. Not respect. You drink in taverns where no one bows. Where merchants laugh too loud and farmers elbow past you to get to the bar. You're no longer feared. You're pitied. The drunk old man in the corner with a sword he'll never draw. Every night, you clean your blade, even though it hasn't tasted blood in years, even though it probably never will again. You pull it from the sheath, wipe it down, oil the steel, check the edge. For what? There's no war coming, no duel waiting, no honor left to defend. But you clean it anyway, because it's the only ritual you have left. The only thing that makes you feel like you're still something. You stare at the blade, your father's name etched near the hilt. You wonder what he would say if he saw you now. A sword without a war, a man without a purpose, an old soldier polishing his regret. Then you hear a name, whispered in taverns, spoken with reverence by young men who never knew war. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated duelist. 60 fights, 60 wins, never lost, never fled, never compromised. They say he embodies everything the samurai once were. Discipline, mastery, purity. They say he lives by the sword in an age that's abandoned it. That he doesn't fight for lords or coin. He fights for perfection. And you hate him. But that's a lie. You don't hate him, you envy him. Because he has what you never did. Choice. He wasn't conscripted into a clan. Wasn't leased to a lord. Wasn't forced to kill for politics and rice stipends. He chose the blade. And the blade chose him back. You were a tool. He's an artist. You survived. He's alive. And that difference, that gap between what you are and what he is, it's unbearable. Late at night, drunk on cheap sake, you let yourself think it. What if I fought him? Not to win. You know you'd lose. But to die by his blade, that would mean something. It wouldn't be a random arrow in a field, or a belly full of infection from bad water, or choking on rice in a roadside inn, alone, forgotten. It would be a death, witnessed, honorable, the kind poets write about. You close your eyes and imagine it. Standing across from Musashi, sword drawn, one strike, clean, fast, meaningful. You'd finally be part of the myth, even if only as a footnote. So you start again, training, not to live, to die with purpose. Every dawn, you rise before the sun. Your bones scream. Your joints crack like dry wood. But you move through the forms. Slow at first, then faster. The sword feels heavy, heavier than it used to. Or maybe you're just weaker. Every swing is a prayer to your father. To your master, to the men you killed, to the boy you buried. Let this mean something. Let me be more than this. Let me die like a samurai. You don't know if Musashi will ever cross your path. You don't even know if the stories about him are true. But it doesn't matter, because for the first time in years, you have a reason to sharpen your blade. Not for a contract, not for survival, for yourself. Even if that self is just a ghost, reaching for a myth in the hope that dying beautifully might be enough. You find him, not in legend, not in a story. In the flesh, a quiet town, a road cutting through bamboo groves. And there he is, Miyamoto Musashi, sitting on a stone, sharpening his blade. He looks up, sees you, sees the sword, sees the intent, and he smiles. Not cruel, just knowing. He stands. You've come a long way. You don't ask how he knows. You just nod. Beneath the morning sun, two men bow. The ritual is simple, respectful, final. You feel the weight of every battle, every life, every broken promise, every year spent drifting. All of it presses down on your shoulders. But when you straighten, you feel light, because this is it. This is the moment you've been sharpening yourself for. Not to win, to end. With meaning, steel sings. The first strike comes faster than thought. You barely parry. Dust rises with every step. The world shrinks. No sound but breath and steel. No sight but his eyes and the arc of his blade. You fight like a man running toward death. Desperate, hungry for it. Every strike is a lunge into the void. He fights like one dancing with it. Calm, fluid, inevitable. You see it in his movements. He's not trying to kill you. He's letting you arrive. One final clash. You put everything into it. Every ounce of strength. Every ghost. Every regret. Your blade meets his and shatters. The steel breaks clean. The hilt vibrates in your hand. And then, silence. His blade pierces your chest. Not violent. Almost. Gentle. Like he's placing it there. You gasp. Not in pain. In relief. He holds you. Steadies you as you fall to your knees. His voice is soft. Close to your ear. If you weren't fighting to die, I would be the one lying here. You look up at him, and you smile. For the first time in decades, you feel peace. Not because you won, because you mattered. Your death has a witness, a name, a story. You close your eyes. The sun is warm. The world is quiet. And finally, you are free. History doesn't pause. It doesn't mourn. It just moves. Decades pass. The world you knew, the one built on steel and oaths, crumbles. Not with war, with progress. The Meiji Restoration arrives. Western guns, Western suits, Western ideas, and the samurai, they're declared obsolete. In 1876, the government issues an edict. StickTory, the sword ban. Samurai are forbidden from carrying their blades in public. The very object that defined you for centuries is now illegal. Some resist. They rebel. They die. Most just comply. They hang their swords on walls, turn them into decoration, into memory. Bushido, the code you bled for, becomes poetry, recited by children who've never held a blade, printed in books, sold to tourists. The warriors become theater. Samurai armor appears in museums, behind glass, next to dinosaur bones and ancient pottery. The cherry blossoms, the honor, the tragic beauty. It all becomes commerce. Postcards, woodblock prints, stories for Westerners who romanticize what they never had to live through. The code becomes a brand, The warrior becomes a costume, and the men who actually lived it, forgotten. Your name is gone. No stone marks where you fell. No poem carries your deeds. You're not in the histories, not in the songs. You were a tool, and tools aren't remembered. They're replaced. All that remains is a rumor, a footnote in someone else's legend. Musashi once fought a Ronin beneath the morning sun. That's it. That's all you are, a shadow in someone else's light. In a world that worshipped honor, no one told you it would be the first thing to die. They told you the sword was your soul, but the soul was never in the steel. It was in the belief, and belief doesn't survive contact with history. You were born into a lie. You lived it. You died for it. And the world moved on. Without you, without the code, without the myth, all that's left is silence. And the quiet truth. You were never the hero. You were the price.